here first. Haha, thank you, Joe, for being here, man. I really appreciate that. So, been storming crazy like here in Astoria, actually throughout most of the Pacific Northwest. The snow and the rain and the hail and the cold, it is hitting us here in April, and that is something that we typically do not see. Usually the weather is starting to turn to be a little bit warmer. It's always raining, but at least it's warmer weather typically in April. But right now, it is very cold out. Somewhere around 38 degrees, if I remember right. So, yeah, pretty unusual weather that we're experiencing right now, but it's good stuff. I love the Oregon weather. I really do. I love it when we get the major storms, those big high winds and stuff. Although you lose the power and it knocks over trees and stuff, but man, it's just so intense, and the power and everything that comes from it, it's just amazing. And watching the river, like some of the waves and stuff pick up out there, it's quite extreme. Okay, let's talk about economics. Couple of articles that I'm going to leave down there in the description for you guys. It's really starting to show the slowdown into the economy. You can see it in freight. You can see freight rates are starting to come down. There's an article for that. There's another article in there talking about the headwinds that the consumer is going to see. Mainly, the 3 points that they were making in this article I thought was pretty good, because they were talking about the fiscal stimulus that had, pretty much been given to everybody during the pandemic, the enhanced unemployment check, stuff like that. All this extra money that was floating through the system, this gave people like this extra purchasing power, this ability to continue on with the economic activities that we would typically anticipate coming from all that spending, right? So like the fiscal spending really did a number to getting people out there and buying up the goods and services, which in turn, drives up inflation. The uh, the other point that they were coming to was the interest rates and how that's rising. And you know that anytime there's a lifting of interest rates, that's going to put a damper on the asset prices, especially when it comes to like new homes and cars. These two, when they're purchased new, generally are purchased on loans. I mean, most people don't have cash to do it. I mean, of course, nowadays you're hearing a lot about all cash buyers, but for the most part, everybody buys these things using some sort of loan. And if the interest rates go up, it just makes it that much more difficult on everybody. And then the last thing that they were talking about was the rising gas prices, and how this extra money, or not extra money, but all this other money that is being spent on gas is no longer available to spend into the economy on the goods and services out there. And this is something that I have said, many times as well, is that when you see the oil prices go up, that's actually going to be a damper on economic activity, where people think that it's going to be like causing inflation, which it does. It causes the price to go up because of the cost of manufacturing, the input cost goes into it, transportation cost, stuff like that. But unfortunately, when those gas prices go up, it just means that people are going to spend less money on those goods and services out there, which in turn takes the economic activity down. So anyway, what you guys talking about? I hope some slowdown in housing is coming. I need a 10 to 20% discount on my first house. Yeah, I guess it would depend on how far up they're going to move from here, if they continue to move up. Now, I think the average house price here in the United States is somewhere around 380, if I remember right, which doesn't seem like it leaves a whole lot of room to keep going up. I mean, eventually it's going to price the people out of the capabilities of buying. But then you go up and you look at Canada, and their average home price is something like $850,000. So it's like well over twice what it is here in the United States. And I mean, of course, things don't look all that great up there, but yet that's where the prices went to. So is it possible that home prices can continue to go up? Sure. I mean, just look at Canada. And then also, let's think about that 10% discount. Like, let's say a 10% drop in home prices. Well, I just take my home, for example, the one that I purchased, because that's the one that I'm looking at as far as the continual increase in pricing. I mean, like, I'm looking at the Zillow estimate of it, and it's gone up a lot. Like, if a 10% drop was to happen right now to the price, I would still be above what I paid for the house. Like, that's how crazy the prices have moved up in such a short amount of time. Even here in, what I would feel would be a hot market that would be churning, because like the prices of homes here have just gone so far so fast. I just, like, to me they seem like they would top out, but they don't seem to be doing that. So even if you were to get a 10% break on a house from right now, it would only put you back 4 months. So you might as well purchase 4 months ago, right? I don't know what's going to happen with homes. I just feel that these prices are too hot, too high, have gone too far. And if there is a rise in interest rates, with the mortgages and stuff, I just don't see how it is that the people are going to be able to afford those higher payments on these expensive homes. It just leads me to believe that the asset price would come down at some point. But we haven't seen it yet. At least I haven't seen it in my area. All right, what's going on here? The average house in Colorado is going up almost $25,000 per month. Oh, man, and I thought the $10,000 on my house was a lot, but 25? Holy crap. One word, Phoenix. Yeah, is Phoenix the place to be? Or move to Phoenix, bro? I don't know. What would I do in Phoenix? I don't know anybody in Phoenix. Well, I mean, I might know somebody in Phoenix, but I don't have a network in Phoenix. What would I do? Who would have thought printing trillions would cause inflation? Well, what I think is funny about it is that they printed trillions of dollars all throughout quantitative 1, 2, 3, 4, Operation Twist and all that, and failed to get the inflation that they were looking for. So I would have to question all the money printing that took place, causing the inflation that we're seeing now. Something that I've said quite a bit. Now, I feel that the inflation, the price inflation that you are experiencing with most of the goods and services that are out there, is due to the supply chain breakdown, not so much due to all the money printing that took place out there. I know I'm going to get a lot of argument on that. That's fine. I mean, we all have to believe what we want. I think about Dr. Lacey Hunt and some of the things that he said about how low interest rates is actually a deflationary scenario when you have less of a return on your capital. Think about this for a second. If you had $1 million back in the early 80s and you lent that to the government, you would get a return of $150,000 a year. It's pretty good living. I mean, just for loaning your money to the government, $150,000 is a lot of money you can spend into the economy, buying houses and cars and going on vacation and just spending that money in general. The return on capital was quite high when the interest rates were higher. Well, now you loan $1 million to the government, you're going to get around $15,000. Now, today it might be a little bit more. What, $18,000? It's not a whole lot of return on $1 million. That's where we're going to start seeing the deflation, is because the return on capital is less than what you can get from the return on capital is diminishing because of the purchasing power from it. So the more you loan your money out there and tie your money up over a period of time, and the return that you get on it has less purchasing power than the time that you had lent it out, that's going to be a deflationary scenario. So all the money printing that is going on out there is driving interest rates down. And although it does a shock to the system, it's like getting high. Yeah, while you're high, you feel great. Everything is awesome. In fact, you feel like you're king of the world and that there's nothing that can bring you down until the drugs wear off, much like the stimulus, much like all the money printing, all the fiscal spending that they did, all those advanced unemployment checks or enhanced unemployment checks and all that other stuff. All that's coming to an end. And nobody has that money anymore. But we got to pay that money back. That means we're going to postpone our current spending to pay for that past consumption. It's going to be a deflationary scenario. Yeah. Let's see here. Under Texas law, the maximum amount of a home equity loan can't be more than 80% of its total appraised value. It will be interesting if this requirement buffers some areas. Yeah. I think there's probably ways to get around that, I would imagine. I live in San Francisco Bay Area. Houses on my street are going for $350,000 to $600,000 over asking. Last house that sold 5 houses down from me went for 437,000 over asking. They go pending within 72 hours of listing. Yeah, I heard of somebody, what was it? Guy was telling me that a house went on the market, something ridiculously low, like 280, and they were getting offers $30,000 over the 280. They took it off the market, did some remodeling to it. A year later, sold it for over $400,000. Amazing. All right. Let's see here. What is your take on 40-year mortgages? Um, if I believe they're happening, I mean, I believe they are happening at this point. I think they're using 40-year mortgages to help out a lot of those people who are in forbearance and trying to come out of forbearance who can't afford the current payments. They're restructuring some of those into 40-year loans. I don't know if they're actually offering up 40-year loans for a new or for, like, getting into a house. That might be the case, but any sense, they're going to be coming. 40-year loans, I feel that is probably going to be one way that they're going to keep the asset prices elevated on these homes. Again, if people can make the monthly payment, that's more of what their concern is, not so much what the actual cost of the item is. So with the 40-year mortgage, you're going to be able to afford those monthly payments on a more expensive asset. If that becomes more popular, then yeah, we could see that, if that would actually keep the housing prices elevated, as more people would probably be diving into 40-year mortgages because they can afford them as opposed to dealing with the 30 years. Um, if that would be the case, then I would assume that over time, 40 years would end up being the norm. They would just be the common thing. Hey, right on. 322 of you guys here. 326 people. Go over and hit that like button, please. What that does is it helps out with the algorithm. I hardly ever ask you guys to ever like a video, but when it comes to these live streams, if you hit the like button, YouTube will pick up the video and start spreading it around for more people to come into the live stream, and then we can get more people chatting. So we'll get more comments that way. So yeah, hit the like button. I really appreciate it. There you go, guys. That's the way to do it. Up to 129. Look at that. Doubled the likes just in a minute. Perfect. All right. Watching from Toronto. So yeah, tell us what's going on in Toronto. What's the average house price in Toronto like right now? I got 2 dozen donuts at Krispy Kreme last night on sale for $4.11 each. They're doing it each Wednesday. Remember, this is something that we had talked about yesterday. And they're using the excuse of the high gas prices. But ultimately, they're just throwing that out there. It's a gimmick. Like, they want people to come and buy donuts from them. The only way to really get people to come and buy donuts is to drop the price by saying, hey, we're offering you a better deal on donuts. Come in and get them. But if they drop the price and then add on top of it, hey, because of the gas prices, we're going to drop the price. And this is a benefit for you so that you can come in and buy our donuts. Aren't we nice? Isn't that a nice thing for us to do? It's a complete gimmick. They're dropping the price so they can get sales. Period. End of story. Then they put that gas thing on top of it to make it like this added benefit, like they're doing it for you, 40-year mortgages, unbacked, central bank digital currencies, and wealth passes. Think I'll not work very hard for that. Yeah, watching from Denmark. Thank you. UE is almost at 100 subs. Yeah, isn't that amazing, man? 89,500 subscribers. We're going to be at 100,000. I mean, probably, by the end of summer, hopefully. I mean, that's going to be amazing. 100,000 subscribers. I, I I never thought that I would ever have 1,000 subscribers, let alone 100,000. Moving to a cheap remote rural area works if you have a family, but it doesn't work if you are a single young guy. You have to live where people are. Yeah, and even having a family, living out in the country, I lived out in the country, but what happens when your vehicles break down? What happens if you have no money? What happens when you need to get to work and you can't get there because you're way out in the country and the buses don't run out there? I mean, it's very inconvenient to live out in the country when it is that you need those, like, services that the city provides. If you are self-reliant, like you have big garden, you have solar panels, you have like everything that you need, you're self-sustaining out there, well, then it's very convenient to live out in the country because you can provide for yourself all these, all the, what is it, food conveniences and pleasures of life. That's where the real wealth comes from. So, all right. I think I'm more for living in a van down by the river than getting into real estate market. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a few guys right around here who are in vans down by the river. I don't think they're doing it by choice, though. I, well, I mean, probably in the van by choice as opposed to not being in the van, but I think they would probably rather live someplace else. Ultimately, yeah, I've been trying not to say ultimately. All right. Any thoughts on time horizon to a recession? I'm thinking within 2 years. Yeah. Um, the Fed started raising rates now. It's going to have an immediate impact on the market. It's going to be a while before it actually takes effect in the real economy. So in 6 months, 5 months, 5 to 6 months, we're going to start noticing some real changes to the economy, more so than just observations in the markets. We're going to start noticing, like I'm already noticing it happening, but we're going to start seeing a lot more slowdowns or some kind of different economic activity taking place out there. We're going to find where maybe corporations are going to start failing. This is the type of thing that we're going to look for. Once those start ramping up, the recession is going to be not too far behind from that. If you wanted me to guess on where it is, well, just from the inverted yield curve and some of the things that are taking place, yeah, a 2 year horizon doesn't seem too far off. Um, I would be surprised if it even took that long. The only thing that would concern me about this possible recession that's coming into the future is that the Federal Reserve is going to have some tools to combat this that we have no idea what they are. And a lot of people are going to assume some of the outcomes from a slowdown in the economy or a recession because they don't know what it is that the Federal Reserve is going to be pulling out. Like, I don't know either. Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what tools, like the special purpose vehicles that they pulled out during the pandemic. Nobody saw that coming. Like, they pulled out a special purpose vehicle, funded it with funded these things with hundreds of billions of dollars and backstopped every corner of the financial market. Like, had they not done that, we would have been in a full-blown economic crisis. But nobody said that. Nobody talked about these special purpose vehicles prior to the pandemic, prior to the recession. Nobody thought about these things coming up and being used. So what's the next recession going to look like? Are they going to issue out UBI, central bank digital currencies? Who knows? I mean, I have a feeling that the next downturn, major downturn in the economy, we are going to see UBI from that. We're going to see universal basic income. We're going to see central bank digital currencies. We might even see things like time limits on currency. Like especially if it's like a central bank digital currency and they load up a wallet, a digital wallet, and say, hey, you got 30 days to spend this or it goes away. Talk about like the economic activity that would come from that. Money velocity would definitely pick up as people would hurry up and spend it before it was lost. And at that point, then you could really direct where the money goes. You can't spend it on drugs and alcohol. You can only spend it on food and clothing or something. I mean, there's ways that they can direct it because at that point they will have total control over the currency, the central bank digital currency. And if you make the economic downturn hard enough, like if you make it painful enough, the people will beg for it. They will beg for the central bank digital currency. They will beg for anything that will give them any kind of support or relief or food or shelter or anything from it. So if you can create enough pain in the market, the people will just voluntarily give up their freedoms for that security. Let's see here. Wow, a lot of you guys are chatting. Okay, down to the bottom. Uneducated Economist. What is people buy stocks? What if people buy stocks with that central bank digital currency? Well, I think that's probably what they want you to do with it. They want you to shove it into those markets. I mean, it's gonna. I don't. I don't know what, like, I mean, I guess they could say, hey, it's limited. You can only put so much into the, I mean, they could limit it to where it could go, but I would assume that they would love it if everybody just shoved it into the stock market. There's no better place for them to take it from you. All right. I'll take out my CBDC. What would you do with it? Would you put it into gold, silver, Bitcoin? The future looks so bright, I gotta wear shades. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it depends on what position you're in. I mean, you could find yourself that you've positioned yourself unlike anybody else, and when we have this major downturn, you end up just scoring really big on it. I don't know what position that would be, but, you know, who knows? You might end up buying a repo company or something like that. I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of repo cars here coming into the next couple of years, as people have paid far too much for vehicles, especially if we see a drop in vehicle prices. Like if somebody paid like $50,000 for a vehicle that had like a $35,000 price tag on it, and then we come into a time when there's a load of inventory for cars and those $35,000 trucks are selling at a discount and you had paid $50,000 for it, a lot of people will just walk, they're like, I ain't making more payments, never mind, let this thing go and, call it good. And I could see where that could happen a lot, especially for people who have really overpriced on their vehicles. I could see them just simply walking away from those cars because they're burdensome. Vehicles are a burden, like especially new cars. They take all the pay, the principal payment, the interest payment, the insurance payment on a new vehicle because you got to carry the full coverage, the gas, the maintenance, everything that goes into a new vehicle is super expensive, right? I drive a 99 Toyota Corolla. I put gas in it every once in a while and change the oil occasionally. That's about it. Like this vehicle costs me hardly anything to drive. And I love this thing. I mean, this is a money maker. I mean, if anything, it gets me to work, it gets me around, it hardly costs anything to drive. This is not a liability. This is definitely an asset for me. However, if it was, you know, a 2021, then it would definitely be a liability. There would be no asset to it because it would function exactly the same as this old car does, only I would be making a bunch of payments on it. However, I would feel really good driving it. And I think I would probably look really good in a new car too, right? I mean, yeah, a new Camaro. That's what I want. You guys should start a GoFundMe and buy me a Camaro so I don't have to buy one. All right. Do you think there will be a period soon when cars, boats, toys will be on massive sale? Absolutely, I do. I think that things are going to be going on sale like you wouldn't believe, and we had just talked about that when the people start looking at what they have paid and what they can get that same item for today, or maybe even something newer for, they're going to be in buyer's remorse and they're going to quit making their payments on it. And I know a lot of people might argue with that, but I feel that's what's probably going to end up happening, especially with it when it comes to these really expensive vehicles. Yeah, so I could see toys. In fact, somebody was telling me that they were looking at the marketplace, the Facebook buy and sell sites, and they were talking about all kinds of toys coming up for sale. Like quads and jet skis, all kinds of just odd items, because people are running out of money, and they know that those expensive toys were just exactly it. They were purchased, as an impulse, thinking that they were really going to enjoy this thing. They ride their quad around, 6 times in the last year, and they're like, man, why do I even have this thing? Thank you very much, Miles, for the $5 super chat. Very cool of you. Couldn't central banks just literally destroy the currency to take out of circulation to combat inflation? Yeah. Yeah. They could, the Federal Reserve has a balance sheet. On their balance sheet, they have pretty much treasuries, mortgage-backed securities. They have some other stuff on there too, but that's like the major thing, right? Are these bonds. So a lot of people argue this. They don't print money, right? Okay, so they print up this money and they buy these bonds. Those bonds are now due back to the Treasury, right? I mean, the Treasury has to pay them back. So when the Federal Reserve holds these things, whether they sell them or just hold them on to maturity, once that bond comes due or gets sold or is paid off, that is money coming back to the Federal Reserve. If they don't take that money and roll that into another bond or something to purchase to put on their balance sheet, then that money is pulled out of circulation. If they choose to do nothing, if the Federal Reserve just says, hey, you know what, we're just going to stand here and say nothing, we're not going to do anything, the balance sheet would automatically roll off, right? The treasuries would come due, the money would come back to the Federal Reserve, and it would not be in circulation any longer. And that would continue until the Federal Reserve stepped up their efforts and started buying again. So, yes, the Federal Reserve, it's hard to believe, is in a constant state of fighting a upstream battle against deflation. It's hard for people to believe that, but that's literally the case. All right, 500 of you guys out here. Wow, right on. Thank you so much. Who else sent me a super chat? I see. Oh, here it is. Jaws, yes, I love it. Jaws, $1.99. Thank you so much for the super chat. How would UBI affect our hourly wages? I don't think the universal basic income is going to affect your hourly wages at all. Like, I think that's probably going to be the same as it always was. If it does create the inflation scenario, like it starts getting the money velocity going and starts causing prices to move up, not due to a supply chain breakdown, but actually due to supply and demand because there's so much demand going on from this UBI. At that point, then I could see wages going up to combat the effects of the UBI. So I would assume that wages probably would go up some with the UBI just because you need something that's going to combat that stuff. Like, you know, you need some incentive to go into work. And UBI, for a lot of people, is going to be this incentive not to work at all. And those who can manage a life where they find the food that they need, just enough clothing, and just enough shelter to stay warm is enough for them. And that's all they'll ever aspire for. They won't try to get anything more than that. A lot of people are going to look at that UBI and go, oh, hell yeah, they're going to get a job and take all that UBI and they're going to invest every dollar of it. And they're going to put it into some sort of, you know, investment that gives them a return. And throughout their life, they're going to do very well from it. Some people are going to take that UBI and kill themselves on drugs. I mean, they'll just straight up just party it straight away and it'll all be gone. So UBI and the wages, I think that as UBI is moved into use and then becomes a more prominent thing, then yeah, you would start seeing wages moving up from it. And in fact, I would see that like something like UBI and minimum wages going up together. Yeah. All right, man, so many of you out here. This is so awesome. Let's see here. 2.4% drop in New Zealand housing prices in just 1 month. Crash is starting USA very soon. So yeah, I'm hearing about that. In fact, I haven't seen it in my area yet, but I have heard of like certain markets here in the United States are starting to reverse in price, where you're seeing the prices dropping. And there is a couple of houses that I have seen here on the market that were priced quite high that seemed to come down into what I would feel would be a normal-ish range. Still quite expensive though, but I think some people have like gotten a little excited on what they thought that they could sell their house for, and they put them out there at an extreme price, and now they're not quite getting it, which makes sense, so that they would drop it down to try and entice a buyer. But that's the only dropping of homes that I've actually seen. I am in a cash position to buy raw land when the price is right. And that's, I think, a good place to be. Raw land, especially in a popular area or place that's going to see demand for new homes or at least population growth. Buying land is a really good place to be because they simply just can't make any more of it. There's only a limited amount of land. The only thing that holds me back from like going all in on land, I mean, I would never go all in on land, but if somebody was to say, hey, I'm going to go all in on land, is what do you do when you need a little piece of it? Like you know, emergency comes up, you need, an emergency surgery or something. Like, how do you get that little piece of money off your land without like taking out an equity loan or something. That's where the problem with owning land is. If you own gold and silver, you can just take out the gold and silver that you need and just get rid of that part of it, and trade that or sell that off. But when you have land, it's a little more difficult to just get a little piece of the money off of that land without, going to a third party and taking out an equity loan. All right. Oh, here's another super chat from Top Tier Motor Cars. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing all the knowledge, man. Yeah, you bet, guys. I love coming out here and just hanging out with you and talking economics and, just learning. I learn more from you guys than I would ever learn on my own. So I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Archaic Artistry, is that what that says? Merrill and Waylon and why? Merrill or Waylon and why? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, guys. I would love to answer that question. I don't know what that means though. I'm a real estate agent. Yeah, buck 52,000. What are you seeing out there right now? Predictions on lumber futures over the next 30 days. Lumber futures, I have a feeling, are going to continue to go down. I think probably a normalish range now is going to be somewhere over 500 per thousand. Like I'm going to say between 500 and 750 per thousand. I think that's probably going to be where like the equilibrium should be for lumber. I feel that that's probably a position in which that the mills could profit from, due to the input costs that are now coming into these mills. That 700 per thousand is probably going to be a profitable number for them, and then also that will bring the lumber prices down to where it would actually move. So we would sell more of it. 2x4s at $10 a piece. That is a very difficult sale. You don't sell a whole lot of 2x4s at $10 a piece. $3 a piece, you can sell a lot of them, but not at 10. So the next 30 days, I think that lumber prices are going to continue to go down. They've already dropped dramatically from the 1,700 per thousand they were last year, and even the 1,400 per thousand that they hit just recently. I mean, we're down at, I haven't checked it today, but we were down at like 800, 900 per thousand. And the feeling that I'm getting from it is that that's probably going to continue to go down. If you want to know when the retail is generally retail is about 30 days after that. So we're seeing the prices come down. Give it about 30 days and you're going to start seeing some of the retail prices come down. If you're in a much more popular area where there's a lot more turnover, you might see the retail prices coming down faster than that or sooner than that. But out here, being on the coast and stuff, it takes about 30 days or so after the future prices have moved that we really start seeing the prices reflecting into the retail. And really it depends on how much they move, right? Like the lumberyard that you're shopping with. If they have a high turnover, then you're going to see that the prices are much more correlated to the futures. Like as far as like when the futures change, then their retail will change. But most people don't have a super high fast turnover like that. It usually takes them a month or so to roll the old stuff into new stuff. Anyway, I hope that helps. Hey, I have my eye on a nice plot of land, but that's where the metaverse ties in. It's a great ecosystem if you know how it works. Yeah, and this is something that we have. I mean, we really need to discuss the metaverse here on the Uneducated Economist. It's going to become big. It's getting bigger all the time, and really, I think that's probably going to be a major part of where commerce is done is through metaverse and online shopping styles and distribution and stuff like that. Things are going to change very dramatically. We're going to go from a system that everybody recognized and got used to something that nobody even knew was happening. Like I hate to say it, but like the older population who is stuck on like not using cell phones and only using cash and stuff like that, it's going to happen so fast, it's going to make their head spin. They're not going to even realize where they are anymore. They're going to think, man, how did this thing change so fast? All right, Vacation Time 247. Thoughts on buying Series I inflation bonds? Will pay 8.3% APR if purchased before April. Here's $5 for those taxes too. Hey, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Um, I'm I'm not one who's big into buying bonds. Personally, I like the idea of the 8% that you can get on these bonds. That at least gives you some sort of protection against inflation on it. And in that sense, if you have a lot of trust for the United States and their abilities to pay you back in dollars that are not deflated away, like, inflated away as far as the purchasing power of it, then yeah, I mean, those bonds are probably a pretty good place to put some savings. I mean, at least you get a return off of it, and it's very low risk in considering. Um, Me personally, I probably wouldn't get into them. Not a lot. I have a tendency to get away from third party kind of stuff. I would rather have my money in cryptocurrencies, into gold and silver, ammo, food, stuff like that. Those are the type of places that I feel more comfortable being, because it's away from that third party. But if you're not worried about that part of it, then yeah, I guess those I bonds would probably be a pretty good investment. I mean, I'm sure you'll get paid back from them. I don't think they'll default. All right. Let's see here. Trust for the United States. Yeah, well, I mean, I know it's kind of a funny statement to say, but I mean, compared to Russia, compared to China, compared to, just about any other nation out there, and at least you could find the United States has some sort of like idea of being trustworthy. I mean, whether you do or don't, it's up to you, but at least they have that idea going on. I have no faith in the government. Good for you. I don't either. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, things of that nature. I'm not sure what that was about, but UK housing in my area has dropped about 10 to 15%, but is still not selling. Some builders are not finishing new homes that I have noticed may be going into bankruptcy. And I could really see that happening. I could see where builders could end up going into a bankrupt position simply my friend Lynn. um I can see where like builders could go into a bankrupt position simply because they can't finish the dang home, right? Like, they're contracted to finish this thing, but they can't get the materials, they can't get the labor, they can't get it done, and they end up going out of business because of it. It's not because they didn't, it's not because they failed because they're, a failure in general. They failed because the economic environment doesn't allow them to succeed. I can see that happening. Lynn Alden? No, unfortunately, it wasn't Lynn Alden. Although that would be pretty cool to have Lynn just all of a sudden just pop up on the game, or up on the live stream here. Okay, buy puts in oil companies for earnings this quarter. $604,198 is the median New Zealand house price currently. Woo! Man, that's up there. So you guys are kind of like Canada. All right. Can you comment on the stinkflation on grocery items? That's something that I had talked about quite a bit a few months back. Like, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And I said your time to prepare was gone. And I said that food was going to start getting expensive. It was going to become harder to find. It was going to be harder to distribute. And that you should learn to preserve your own food. Like getting canning supplies and learning to can is probably one of the greatest skills that you could have going into the future, because food is going to become very difficult. It's going to become very expensive. It's going to be hard to grow. And it's going to be that way for a while. When that happens, the prices are going to go through the roof. Same thing is going to happen like the bullwhip effect. Farmers are going to see how much money food is going for, how much, they could profit from their produce or from their livestock or from whatever. And they're going to try and take advantage of those high prices by producing a lot more. What's going to end up happening is that we're going to have a bunch of farmers who overinvest, who are going to see these big dollar signs, produce a lot of food, and then all of a sudden find themselves that they are flooded in the market because everybody else had the same idea. You know, this is something that happened in the marijuana industry right here in Oregon. In fact, it happens in most states when they do it. When they first legalized marijuana, it's a booming trade. Like, everybody's making money off of this. All the farmers, the growers, distributors, processors, everybody's making a ton of money off of this weed because it's brand new, right? It's new flooded market coming in there. But once everybody starts to do it, next thing you know, there's a sea of green. And now nobody wants the bud. Nobody's wanting to hire, bud tenders they want to hire bud tenders and stuff like that, but the amount of profit that you can make from this stuff has diminished dramatically. So, like, making a lot of money in marijuana became very difficult as the years went on. And now it's just like people who are in the game are going, like, who are talking like they don't want to get out. They don't even want to be part of this anymore. It seems like dispensaries are all for sale. And I'd assume that's probably the reason, is because the first years you do it, you make a killer money. But then everybody floods into it and it's over. I mean, there was, like, I told the story, I had the article for a while. I don't know whatever happened to it, but there was a blueberry farmer here in Oregon who had seasonal workers, and he was thinking, I could grow weed and have these guys here year round. I don't have to lay them off, once a year. I could just have them working the marijuana part of things all year long. So he invested heavily into the marijuana grow operation, did killer the first year, and the next year damn near lost his entire farm because he could not sell any of his product. This is something that this is something that could happen throughout a lot of different parts of the economy. I definitely see it happening in food. I mean, we are going to be running into some serious food shortages. Once, I don't think it's going to happen here in the United States. It probably will happen in other nations. But once the people of a nation start spending 50% of their income on food, they riot. They will revolt. They will overthrow their government. So food shortages coming up it's going to be very unsettling, to say the least. Right on, 600 of you people. I love it. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for coming into the live stream. And be sure and hit the like button, guys. Like I said, it it really helps for spreading the video around and gets more people into the comments. So thank you very much for being here. Let's see. Not your problem. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Wanted to go to the meetup today, but had a hard to make it on time. Oh, live a few hours away. I can't make it until later or weekend. Have a good one. Bless. Okay, well, I'm gonna try and switch my schedule around so that I have Saturdays off. I don't know when we're gonna be able to do that. Like I said, I just recently talked with the boss about it. I have been working weekends, like Saturday and Sunday, for like 12 years or something like that. So I asked for either Saturday or Sunday. I don't know which one I'm going to get from it. But hopefully here in a couple of months, we'll be able to reschedule, do a rescheduling on it, and I can have weekends off. If that's the case, then we will definitely do a lot more meetups, because I know people are probably going to have the ability to come to Astoria and hang out on a weekend as opposed to like a Thursday. Today, I sat over at the Coffee Girl. I showed up there at 9. Adam was very cool. He came and hung out with me and brought me deer spam. Right, so I'm looking forward to just sampling some of his deer spam, and then another gentleman, Will, came and hung out with me for a few too. I know Will from the community here, so. Yeah, we sat and talked about housing markets and talked about our family and stuff like that. So it was a good time. I enjoy the meetups. They're not like super popular yet, but the guys who have come and hung out, it's fun. It's cool to not only meet people, but then to meet like-minded people who want to talk about economics. I mean, most people just get a glazed look over their face when you start talking numbers and stuff. All right. Let's see, did I see another one up there? Okay, sorry guys. Let's see here. Another question or something. The problem is interventions shot the cost of maintaining a dispo up through the roof. I'm not sure what this is. So lots of shops are closing because they are not making any money. George Gammon said that Belgium started rationing flour, meat, and veggies and oils. Yeah, it's gonna you're gonna find that to be the case in a lot of nations. Especially like some of the less powerful nations. I don't know how to say that, but the ones who don't deal in a lot of like trade or commerce or have exports, those nations are probably not going to do very well, especially when it comes to the food shortages and the riots and in the civil unrest and stuff. Yeah, and you're going to probably start hearing a lot more stories about that as well, the rationings and the limited supplies. Hey, right on. System loading. Thank you so much for the super chat. Any meetups in other cities? Here's $20 for some more spam. Thank you. Yeah, if they get popular enough, then yeah, I'd certainly travel to other places. I would love to do some more speaking engagements. I was gonna start doing some like right after I got back from Houston, but there was just so much kind of going on that I didn't feel like I was just like, man, putting all this stuff on top of everything that I already got going on. I know that's probably like a cop out kind of kind of statement there, but really it was just I had a lot of stuff going on. But I would really like to do the speaking engagements more, and traveling around to different cities or finding different places to meet up and hang out and talk or to do speaking engagements. I want to do that. I want to do more of that kind of thing. I think it would help for the channel. I think it would also, be beneficial to me as a person, just to be able to, just, to be able to get up and speak in front of a crowd. I mean, I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. I've really only ever done it for like bingo and then that Houston trip. So I would like to get more experience doing something like that. All right, let's go on. Let's see here. Okay. 814,680 US dollars is the medium house price in Auckland, New Zealand. Oh my gosh. How do you guys make it? Fixed incomers ain't in a rosy place. No, that's for sure. I mean, it's those people are getting hit the hardest because obviously your income is going to be is going to stay the same, but then everything that you purchase goes up, your cost of living goes down. So fixed income that's a difficult place to be when inflation is running rampant. Okay, UE must have the day off. I do have the day off. I have today and tomorrow, and in fact, I think I have Saturday and Sunday. I got to double check on that. I know I have Sunday off. Love San Diego as a kid. Yes, I can imagine. I love Southern California when I was a kid growing up. I enjoyed being there. Let's see. 61 millennials died in 2021. That is more than Vietnam War. What? How can we get that youth comeback? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have the that drive for starting a family or having a house or building up a career or any of the things that would typically kind of relate to the American dream. I don't think the youth has that kind of drive or ambition. And it's not that that they're all lazy or something like that. I don't think that's the case. I just think that really the ways things are going now, it's just so much easier to not have that stuff in your life, to not take on those burdens or the responsibilities or any of that stuff. And you can just pretty much live for the conveniences and the experiences. Um, the idea of like raising family and stuff like that, nah, like just take care of yourself, enjoy yourself, and enjoy, maybe the people that you're with at the moment. But other than that, there's no ambition to really do anything else. Those who do have that ambition are probably going to do pretty well, considering that they won't have much competition out there. Anyway, let's go on here. Our future was decided for us in the 80s. The U.S. era olds are just along for the gravy train ride. Us 20-year-olds are just along for the gravy train ride. Yeah, I don't know how long that gravy train is gonna last. Just saying. A strong economy is built off of productions and savings. If you don't produce anything and you don't save anything, it's just a matter of time before you're a failure. So good luck with that. Does Oregon have good tramping? New Zealand word for hiking. Oh, yeah. Oregon is like probably one of the better places for, well, I wouldn't say the better places, but is definitely a good place for hiking, for outdoor experiences. I mean, we have everything here, from surfing to skiing to anything you could possibly want. It's all available in Oregon. So yeah, if you're like an outdoorsy kind of person, you do have to tolerate the weather, so it's cold and rainy. But if you can deal with that part of things, there is a lot to do here in Oregon, especially outdoors. Especially like if you're like into hunting and fishing, gathering, stuff like that. I mean, there is so much to do. Like there is all kinds of stuff to go hunting for fishing. There's like just foraging in general. I mean, it's amazing on how much you can actually just consume just out of nature around here. Eventually, you'll get paid handsomely for saving. I feel that that's probably coming. That we're going to see some higher interest rates, and for the first time, people are going to be like, holy moly, I can actually get money from saving. Like, that's something that I don't think a lot of people who are probably, under the age of 40, really, I mean, had ever had a chance that they could actually earn a return or get an interest off of their savings. That is something that, like, almost pretty much has never existed for them. In fact, I was talking with a kid who was wanting to save for a car, and I said, yeah, there was a time you could, put money in a savings account, and you could collect a little bit of interest off of it as you were trying to save up for your car, so you wouldn't have to, wait as long. And he went, really? And I went, yeah, man, banks used to pay you an interest. He was like, whoa. Like, he didn't even know it. All right, let's see here. What else we got? The best states I have hiked out of 46 is Hawaii and Northern California and third Oregon. Yeah, Hawaii is an excellent place to go hiking. I agree with that. I mean, the only place I've really ever gone hiking around was on the Big Island, but yeah, it's definitely good outdoor area. Let's see here. Grew up in Europe, no mushroom picking there. Chernobyl fallout. I don't agree. I think Europe, there is some serious mushroom picking territory up in some of your regions up there. So I wouldn't say there's no mushrooms up there. Yes. Also deer eating was a no-no. That's a bummer. People Republic of Hawaii. Let's go find another article. What about the greatest wealth transfer that will be happening soon? 18 to 20 trillion of baby boomer money going to millennials soon. No one's talking about this. Yeah, how are they going to get that money? Like, is it going to get left to them? Is that how the money's going to get to them? I thought about that. These homes, the baby boomers are sitting on homes. They're sitting on, as far as real estate goes, they have stock portfolios. They have a lot of wealth out there. But it's third party claim. right? So when it comes time to actually extracting this wealth, not everybody's going to get it. Like, if all the baby boomers decided that they were going to cash out at the same time, only a handful of them are actually going to get it. So when all this like million trillion dollars worth of portfolios and stuff like that these baby boomers or the retirees out there have, I have a feeling that it's more of an illusion that they have that much, because if they all tried to get it, they wouldn't. So I don't know where that money's going to go. If you have like maybe parents who have, a decent real estate portfolio or something like that, where they could leave it to you. But I have a feeling before the end comes that a lot of these portfolios, these retirement portfolios, are going to be sitting at a much smaller number before they actually get used. All right. The insurance will be too much for you to afford a home. U.S. recession coming, then deflation. Let's see here. The money is transferred via trusts. Sure would like to see you at the Rebel Capitalist 3. I think I might go. My sister and I were talking. She wants to fly down to Miami, and I want to go too. So I think we're gonna plan a trip. Her and I are gonna go to Rebel Capitalist and hang out there for the couple of days. So yeah, we were talking about it yesterday, and it definitely feels like it's something we want to do. So I think we might be planning that here in the next day or two, and I will definitely let you guys know if I'm going to be at the Rebel Capitalist. I'm going to talk to my buddy George and see if maybe he'll comp me a couple of tickets or something, so I don't have to buy the tickets to get in. But I'll get myself down there and get a hotel room and stuff, and see if he'll let me into the event. Maybe I can exchange the tickets for greeting people at the door or something. I believe we all have to watch for panic buying. It'll lead to waves in the supply and demand, stock up slowly, not all at once. Yeah, if you are looking to stock up for, like the survival idea, like you need food and canned goods and stuff like that. Um, Once it starts to go, it's going to go fast. I mean, especially once the people start, panicking on it. I agree, build it up slow. If you do not have 50 pounds of rice, 50 pounds of beans, 50 pounds of oats, go get that. Right? It's not that expensive. And even if, like, I'm completely batshit and nothing goes wrong and, like, there is no food shortages or anything, you can still eat the food. And if things do go bad, at least you'll have something to eat. So, yeah, 50-pound bag of rice, 50-pound bag of beans, 50-pound bag of oats, and you'll be good. If you're not going to do anything else, at least get that. Don't store water, get a filter. Yeah, I agree with that. Storing water is very difficult. I've seen people store pallets of water before, and man, that takes up a lot of space. I also come from an area where water falls from the sky 90% of the time, it seems like. So getting a filter, or even like, something simple like those lifesaver pens, so like it's just like it looks like a straw that you can just stick down into water, and it'll filter the water through the straw. Even having stuff like that, that would be very helpful for the fallout times. But that's kind of like Mad Max kind of stuff. I don't see like water becoming an issue as far as the availability to me. If you lived in the desert, you might be thinking something totally different, right? But I like I said, it seems like the water comes from the sky 90% of the time here, so I don't think there'll ever be really a shortage of water, except for maybe possibly 3 months out of the year. That's assuming water will still be supplied. Store water and have filters. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being prepared. That's. I mean, you think of the scenarios. Like, man, what happens if I run out of water? What am I going to do? Like, that's like, if you live in the desert and you don't have access to water, that's a serious concern. I mean, you're not going to make it very far without water. You can live for a while without food, but you're not going to live for very long without water. It's much more critical. So yeah, if you're in an area that it's a concern, then you better take some serious effort to try and secure that. Let's move on here. In the winter, you can just cook snow on the stove. Boiling kills most of the dangerous bacteria. Yeah. Um, we were transferring towards full reserve banking, in my opinion, with the central bank digital currency. It makes sense. Better data, better predictions. Um, I don't want to knock the benefits of central bank digital currencies as like not good enough reason as opposed to the bad things, like you got the two sides that you have to look at. I think central bank digital currencies are going to be awesome for the convenience of it. I mean, I have very little doubt in my mind that using a central bank digital currency over cash is going to be a million times better. The only problem that comes with central bank digital currencies is all the nefarious stuff that can come from it. The tracking, the tracing, the knowing every single thing that you have ever done or the people that you have interacted with. All these privacy issues that come up. Like, a lot of people are just not concerned about their privacy. They just don't care. Like, I'm pretty well exposed out here on YouTube. I mean, I talk a lot about my personal life. People know that I live where I live and stuff like that. It's a lot more than what most people would ever be willing to do, right? I personally am not terribly worried about it. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I'm the popular guy in town or something like that, but a lot of people in town know who I am, so it's not like I'm some sort of, like hidden out there or anything like that. However, when I do messages with my wife, they're all encrypted because I don't want anybody else reading those messages, even if it's just the grocery list. Those are my personal communications with my wife. I'm going to take some extra security precautions to make sure I secure those messages. But outside of that, I don't really try to hide anything. Like, I don't do anything illegal, so there's nothing for anybody to say, hey man, we caught you doing this. Like, I'm not worried about that. There's nothing I did that can be caught, right? And as far as where I spend my money, I mean, does people really care like how many booches I buy? That's like, there's nothing there to look at. I'm not concerned about those things. I'm not giving up my freedom, right? I secure my freedom. I secure the things that I know I need to I need to have, right? Part of knowing what you need to have is understanding your rights, being able to dictate the Bill of Rights, right? These are the type of things that I feel are much more securing of your privacy than worried about whether or not the central bank digital currency is going to expose whether or not you bought bologna or steaks. I mean, that part of things don't concern me. It's the privacy of like who I interact with that would be the biggest concern for me. I know what you did last summer, Simon. Yeah, I was out here making videos on YouTube. That's what I was doing last summer. Choose one because in an increasingly oops, where did that one go? Divisive word. God, I can't hardly read this. Conveniences and freedom are adversal. People with wealth operate in gray areas. In terms of accounting and finance, central bank digital currency end all that. Yeah, I can believe it. Liquor and opioids will have high value. Yeah, you can. Yeah, the trading value of some of that stuff, if you can't go and purchase it, is going to be extremely high. I don't think that they're going to take central bank digital currencies and limit people with them. In fact, I would be not surprised at all to find that people can do illegal transactions with them, like black market trade, drug deals, do whatever they want, with the central bank digital currency. And I really don't think anybody's going to do anything about it. Like, they would just totally turn a blind eye to all this illegal activity. And the whole point of that is so that people will grow confident in using it, saying that they don't do anything. You can do anything you want with this. It's like as if you were using cash. And people will grow so confident that there's no backlash from any of this stuff that eventually an entire generation will become accepting of it. And then they can turn on the heat. Work hard and pay your taxes. The more taxes you pay means the more money you have. Started thinking like that in 1985. Let's see here. Are you Blackfoot Indian by chance? Just curious. I am not. Simon, what happened if you lose your job in a year and cannot make payments on your house you bought? Yeah, I'm not worried about if I lose my job. I'm not worried if I lose my job because there's other jobs out there. I also try and have multiple streams of income. Like, I may not have an income that, as far as my other streams, that matches my day job, but I mean, I can at least bring in some sort of money. So it's not like it's completely like, what am I going to do? I can't find anything. So I'm constantly trying to find different streams of income, even if it's something very small and insignificant. Calling bingo on Sunday, selling, t-shirts or something, Teespring. Um, maybe doing, a side job for somebody, helping them out, working on a house or something like that. These are the type of things that I constantly look for. I'm constantly looking for some sort of, like, whether it's a continual, a small stream or something. I'm looking for money outside of what my day job provides. So if I lose my day job, I'm not out, right? I'm not worried about it. I've lost my jobs before in the past, and you have to find another one. It sucks. You don't know what you're going to do during the times. You think that you're going to run out of all the money the little bit of money that you have left, and then eventually you figure it out one way or the other. Um, I personally am looking to try and build up a savings. So even if I was to go, to lose my job for a few months, I could probably still make ends meet for a while. So in that case, that'll give me plenty of opportunity to find something else. All right, Elliot Ness. Let's see here. I agree with you in essence. What is truly illegal according to the tax code? Inevitably, people that itemize can be targeted and determined to be an error by regulators. Yeah. Don't snort coke. The carbonation really hurts. Yeah. Even like chugging a coke and then you burp and that carbonation goes through your nose, that hurts. Uh, that's how it's done. Keep grinding. Yeah, you just keep going, man. You just, don't ever stop. All right. I came out of school into a job market after 2008. At the time, it was very hard. However, it taught me lots about finding jobs as it was so tough back then. I agree. In 1994, when I got my first job, it was tough market out there. I mean, you were going up against all kinds of people who were looking for work, and nobody was asking for anything above minimum wage. They just wanted to get the job. When I got hired, I couldn't believe it. I got hired on at a lumber yard for $4.75 an hour, and all my friends thought it was the coolest thing in the world that I had a job that paid 25 cents above minimum wage. They thought I was the shit for that. $4.75. That's how much I made in my first job. Yeah. And it was, like I said, it was tough. Like, I mean, I remember watching applicants come in to get hired at that lumberyard throughout the years that I was there, and holy moly, I mean, we would have a position and there would be like 30 people in a day would come in and try and get that position. It was crazy. And now, I mean, I've heard of people who've had a position opened up for 3 months and they haven't had 30 applicants at all. Like, they've had 4 applicants looking for the job. All right. Adaptability is the best skill to master. Yeah, I believe in that. The slowdown is already here. Yeah, it's happening. I mean, it is definitely happening. Let's see here. I started construction at $6 an hour. Dang, all-nighter. That must be tough, considering I heard of laborers now are demanding like $26 an hour just to be on a job site, packing boards around and stuff. And I thought, dang, I remember the first laboring job I had on a job site was $12 an hour. 425 per hour in 1993. Yeah. There is no monthly rate, one-time payout. Must be talking about something else. Do you know how much UBI will be? No, that's there is no UBI, so you can't possibly know how much it's going to be or at what percentage that they're going to base it off of. Are you going to do it off of like annual cost of livings or annual incomes or, I don't know how they're going to figure out this UBI thing. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, Glenn, for the $10. Says, thanks, Simon. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see here. I started nursing at $15 an hour midnight shift. When was that? I started working at $1.50 per hour. Oh, man. My first job, high school, 1972, painting houses for $1.75. The guy got what he paid for. I heard a rumor we may get paid $2.25 a pound. That's about double the usual fuckery. Yeah. That's all Nighter talking about is what are you up there fishing for? Salmon or something right now? Yo, Simon, good day, brother. Good day to you, Brendan. Thank you. UBI will be based on your identification on gender. Yeah, I don't think so. Standard of living is going down regardless of what prices are doing. Yeah, the standard of, well, that's going to be continuous forever. Well, not forever. I mean, until the cycle ends. But that's a lot to do with the Cantillon effect, Cantillon, and that the new money coming in and driving up the prices, driving out the local inhabitants, driving out the domestic manufacturing and forcing more imports, foreign imports into that particular region, it's going to drive the cost of living down or the cost of living up and the inhabitants out. One of the things one of the articles I was just recently reading, and it has a lot to do, like I thought it related a lot to that Cantillon effect or the Cantillon effect with the imports and exports. And I was reading about how these containers going back to China, there is like 107% increase in empty containers going back to China, as opposed to like a 4% increase in exports going back. Some I can't remember exactly the numbers. I think if I don't have the link down in the description, I'll put it down there after I upload this video. But that I got to thinking about that. I'm like, well, that's a lot more imports coming in and a whole lot exports going out, a whole lot less exports going out. That's part of that Cantillon effect, right? Where it's bringing in more foreign imports and driving out the domestic manufacturers. That's what's happening. And you can see it really taking place, especially with that article. If that is to continue, it's going to separate the classes even more, right? You're going to have a bigger separation between the rich and the poor. And you're going to find that the cost of living is going to continue to go up and the domestic manufacturing is going to continue to be driven out. They're already talking about trying to de-globalize, like they don't want to be pulling parts and pieces from all over the world to have this just-in-time delivery. Instead, what they want to do is to bring it into a more domestic location, whether it's manufacturing or storage or something. They want to bring that closer to home. The only problem with that is manufacturing here in the United States doesn't even come remotely close to manufacturing overseas. So once you start manufacturing here in the United States, all the people out there who consume are going to be looking at the United States going, man, that's expensive. I'm going to be buying these foreign imports. And it's going to drive out even more of that domestic manufacturing. So if you try to establish manufacturing here in the United States to get away from that globalization, It will work for a minute, but eventually profits are going to start kicking in, or the drive for profits, the need for profits are going to start kicking in, and they're going to start searching out across the world for cheaper products. And eventually we'll go back into a just-in-time delivery service because that's the most efficient, most profitable way of going about it. Right now, people are trying to build warehouses, trying to create this domestic manufacturing to supply the people who are in short supply. But it's not going to work. It's only going to work for a short time, and then eventually they're going to give up on all those people who are expensive, and they're going to start searching out cheaper stuff overseas. It's going to happen. All right, another super chat from Economic Stalker. Thank you very much. We all enjoy your videos, brother. Thank you very much. CCO Quarter Infantry. Oh, where's, like, what was that for military? Thank you very much for the $10 too. $4.25 per hour pumping gas in 1997. Yeah. My first job was the U.S. Infantry. There we go. $600 a month. Imagine if most jobs only offer minimum wage now. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Like, I mean, most jobs that I've ever had never paid enough. Like, I mean, the job that I have now, it's a decent pay. I mean, it's good. I mean, obviously I wouldn't do it unless it was, but it's never enough. Like, even when I was paid what I felt was a decent amount of money when I was working construction, it still wasn't enough. Like, there is never enough. No matter how much you earn, it will never be enough. And so, like, when I hear somebody say like a minimum wage job doesn't even pay for the cost of living, yeah, it's not supposed to. It's not a cost of living kind of job. I mean, if you have a minimum wage job and you need to survive, you're going to need 2 or 3 of those minimum wage jobs. It's just the way it goes. I mean, it's not, I mean, you know, if you want something better, you have to educate yourself. You have to drive yourself. You have to, you know, start businesses or become a better salesperson or something. To just go and pump gas and think that that's going to give you the ability to survive, it's not. I mean, you can pump gas all day, like 24 hours, and you might be able to come up with enough money to have like a decent life, but you're not going to have any kind of life because you're going to be working all the time. So there's no life involved with that. Minimum wage is literally just that. It's minimum, not for a standard of living, because it's for starting jobs. Like, it's just meant to get out there and get, you know, find what you're really supposed to do with your life. You're not supposed to stay there at that minimum wage job, you know? And then having minimum wage in general, like I was talking with Will about this earlier, and having a minimum wage, just a straight up minimum wage, is pretty much an insult. Because what it's saying that is, if you're not smart enough to earn the, like here in Oregon, I don't even know what it is, $11.50 an hour. If you're not smart enough to earn $11.50 an hour, then you're too stupid to work. That's what this country is telling you when they have a minimum wage, is that if you cannot possibly, like, if you are not intelligent enough to do anything but sweep a parking lot, but unfortunately sweeping a parking lot means that you're going to get $5 an hour. And if that's the only thing you can do, and you live in the United States, it's too bad, because you're too stupid to live here. You're too stupid to earn money here in the United States. That's sad. That is, minimum wage is not a benefit to anybody. It's not a benefit to anybody. It makes it worse. And it does exactly what I'm saying. It's you know, it takes people who, like these guys who are camped out right here, ain't nobody gonna hire them for $20 an hour to do anything. Might hire them $5 to wash the windows, but that would be illegal. All right, let's move on here. A lot of comments here. Okay. What was that? You're right. We should have a maximum wage instead. There is no maximum wage. It's called capitalism, right? That's what you should have. You should be a capitalist. You should take your money and you should figure out what it is that the world needs and how it is that you can profit from that, and you go do it. And you live in an area in which that allows you to make that happen. There's plenty of countries out there that don't let you start your own business, who say that, no, we already have this business here in town. You can't have that business. Right? That's not for you to do. This is a country in which that you can pretty much go off and do whatever it is that you can imagine. That's a great opportunity for most people that they just don't do. You know, um, there's never been a time. I mean, I look out there and I see all kinds of ways of making money. Like, I don't think there was ever a time in the history of the world that there was better or easier way of making money than there is right now. So I don't know why people aren't doing it. I mean, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it, how it is that people are like, man, it's so hard to make it nowadays. I know it's not. It is super easy to make it nowadays. What is hard to do is to make it good, but you can make it. It's easy to make it. Yeah. I'll be rich once I find One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Yeah, I already got it. I just ain't telling anybody. Banned from PayPal, Square, Amazon, Facebook, Farmers Market only. I wonder what happened there. Value comes from labor. Workers have earned their keep. They should get it. Yeah, well, if you got labor in you, go get it, man. Right? I mean, if you have it within you and you go to somebody else and you say, hey, man, I'm going to trade my time for the dollars that you're about ready to give me, that's your fault. Right? That's your fault that you make that money. It is not their fault that you earn the little money. It's your fault that you're earning that money. Right? You should go off and get educated, find a better job, try and start a small, a part-time business, find side gigs, do anything that you can, because that guy ain't going to do it for you. But to blame him for it? No, that's your fault, not his. He's just trying to make profit off of it, and you're going to be willing to do it for him. Right? I don't know. That's a fair trade to me. Like, I have never once in the history of all the times that I have ever worked for anybody did I ever blame them for me not earning enough money. Right? I blame myself. I'm like, man, I am not in a position in which that I'm earning enough money. I need to find a different job. I don't blame the people that I work for. I mean, that's not their fault they're not paying me enough. It's my fault that I'm working for them. Right? So, yeah, if you have labor within you, go get it, man. Go get the stuff. It's plenty of it out there. Have fun paying interest on $30 trillion. Why do you think the economy's slowdown will begin? When do you think? I think it's happening right now. That's the reason why I'm posting these articles in the description, is that if you go and you look at the trucking issues that are taking place, if you go and you look at, like, the fact that oil prices are moving up and driving down the consumer that is out there. I mean, these things are taking place. This isn't like, 6 months ago, you weren't hearing this news. You were hearing about the overwhelming consumer demand because everybody's locked down at home and buying computers and furniture, right? This is what you heard, but that's not the case. What's the case now? People are not going out. They're not spending. They're not doing the things that everybody anticipated them doing once the economy opened up. Yeah, they went off and got some experiences from it, right? They're finally able to go to a concert and go to the amusement park or whatever. But they don't need couches, they don't need computers, they don't need cookingware, they don't need all this stuff that is now coming into the country and getting stocked into warehouses. They don't need any of that stuff. So soon we're going to start finding where those warehouses are going to have the leases due on them and their stuff is not moving through them. They're going to try to get that stuff to move through them, because unless that stuff is moving, there is no money being made. There's no money in storing, right? There's no money in just having a storage of stuff that just sits there and doesn't do anything. It's already slowing down in Cali, yeah. Japanification of our economy seems inevitable. Yeah, and it's funny. I will put another, I don't know if I did it in this video, but I'll go grab the link for it. And I like how, like, the central bank over in Japan had, like, a statement. They came out and they said, we are not going to be using central bank digital currencies to go negative, just to let you know. Okay? I'm just saying, we don't even have a central bank digital currency yet, but when we do, it's not to take the interest rates negative. They come straight out and said that. Bullshit. It's all about taking interest rates into negative. That is the whole point of central bank digital currencies, is so they can take interest rates into negative. Do not believe the central banks when they say that. It is all about taking interest rates negative. I have very little doubt in that. They will come up with a million other reasons, and most of it is going to be used to like benefit the poor, right? Help the unbanked, or to be able to supply money during a disaster or an economic downturn, or to reward for the social safety nets, like, the food stamps or whatever. It's all going to come through on these central bank digital currencies, and the people will love it. They're going to think, man, this is a benefit. The government's trying to help me, and they will eat it up. But eventually what will end up happening is you'll go to take your paycheck, deposit it into the bank. It's going to go into your bank account. It's going to be locked in on a negative interest-bearing account, and you won't be able to pull the cash out, because the cash you do pull out, they're going to charge you a fee to do it that's going to be matching that of the negative interest rates that's on your bank account. That's what's going to end up happening with them. So don't believe any central bank when they say that the central bank digital currency is not about negative interest rates. That is a lie. That is a straight up lie. All right, which global economies do you think will rise in the future? China, like China, possibly. China is eventually going to take over, as far as the world economic power, and you kind of have to think about, like, how is it going to happen? Think about the United States. When we were a major manufacturer, we produced and lent money out to the world. Now we buy and borrow. Like, we completely reversed from what we used to be. And that, again, has to go back to the Cantillon effect, right? The Cantillon effect. And that when we were that major producer and we were exporting a lot, and we were bringing in money. And all this new money started coming in, and it started driving up the prices here in the United States on the domestic goods that we made. So we started searching out foreign goods to compete. Because once you have this new money and the prices start moving up, well, with your new money, you don't want to spend it on higher prices. You want that new money to be able to buy the same goods and services that you once had. So if you can't get those from the domestic, you're going to start going to the foreign purchases. What ended up happening is the United States, who was this major manufacturer, started importing more and more and more, till eventually we drove out all the manufacturing here in the United States. So I forgot, what was the original question? I lost my place on that. As far as the powerhouse goes, right? So if China continues down this path, where they're this major manufacturer and exporter, they're going to be driving in a lot of money into their economy. Well, pretty soon, the people who are getting that money, they're going to start searching out foreign imports to compete with their domestic manufacturing. It's hard to believe that China, being the manufacturer they are, would go into that position. But give us some time and it will eventually go there. Now, this isn't something that's going to happen over the course of a year. It's something that happens over the course of many decades. I mean, think about it. How long has it taken the United States to go from a manufacturing powerhouse to debt-laden, zombie of a country we are now? It took a long time for that to happen. Same thing will happen with Japan, or with China. Give us some time, and eventually they will become more of an importer than an exporter, and they will be a major power play in the entire world. They'll have a debt market that is absolutely magnificently huge, a bond market that is huge, and they will have a currency that is being used as a world trade. That's what it's going to take in order to get there. How long does it take to get there? A long time. Now, if they are able to actually be successful at that, then that's the kind of the course that it would go down. But I have a feeling that things are going to go into a tokenized situation, where you're probably going to have something like the special drawing rights get tokenized, and we're going to have a world digital currency that major nations and corporations end up using for their, world reserve currency type of trade. And then sovereign nations will use their own domestic digital currencies for their own internal trades. That's how I kind of see it happening. I don't think that China will have, like, the yuan will be the world reserve currency. I don't think that would take place. it could. I mean, if it did go down that line, I mean, eventually it would end up being a world reserve currency. But I think the International Monetary Fund and the Bureau of International Settlements has a much bigger plan to have a world dominating digital currency that is not any one sovereign nation's currency. All right, because the current cash has, where did that go? Oh, because it has certain dark aspects. Yeah, cash is out there, but where is it going? CBDC, we know where it's going to predict future downturns. Yeah. No, there's going to be a lot of good and bad things that come from the central bank digital currencies. I mean, you're going to be able to, weigh the pros and cons of this, probably forever on many different scales. Really, what it comes down to is the privacy issue. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is whether or not you're going to feel comfortable knowing every single transaction you have ever made is going to be at somebody else's like view. They'll be able to see that. That's that's not a very comfortable position I think a lot of people want to be in. Let's see here. Due to the increasing price in China's labor, I believe Africa is going to start manufacturing in the next 10 years. Yeah, that I could really see something like that taking place. Um, and it would probably like you would just start to see it, and people would be like, "Wow, there's a lot of stuff being manufactured in Africa." And then as time goes on, pretty soon, instead of saying "made in China," it says "made in Africa." And you start finding that like China doesn't export anything anymore. At that point, I would be really nervous about where the United States would be. Uh, oh, here we go. Hey, thank you, Tina, for the $10. Watch Peter Zion clip and do a commentary on his logic. Pretty much sums up what you were saying. I want to move to the US. Canada sucks. All right, well, let's go check that one out. Zehan, Zeihan, Peter. Okay. Was that from today's video or something? Let's see here. Time to buy a shack on the beach in the Philippines and surf every day. Dude, don't tempt me. Life is short, money is not. Everything, every day is precious. Absolutely it is. And yeah, I totally agree. Let's go to the Philippines and surf every day. That would be great. Justin, you will be demonetized if you talk about the invasion by Russia on YouTube. Really? Invasion of Russia on YouTube. Invasion by Russia. Okay. Let's talk about it. Let's talk as much about that as you want, because I want to be demonetized by YouTube for talking about something as simple as an invasion by Russia. I don't think it'll happen. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. The only things I don't bring up on here are things that are so controversial that it will get me flagged that I know about. Stuff like talking about that sovereign citizen, that is pushing the limits on it. Talking about conspiracy COVID stuff, that's going to get you flagged, right? I mean, these are the type of things that'll do it out there. But me talking my opinions about what's going on in the economy, I am not even remotely concerned about that. And I am, if I get flagged by it, good. I mean, I'll take it as a badge of honor. All right. Still believe there won't be a nuclear option in Europe? Yeah, I don't think there will be any nuclear. I think they'll threaten it. I think they'll push it to the limit on it, but I don't think there will be a nuclear. I don't think there will be nuclear bombs dropped. I don't think so. Mainly because once you drop the first one, they all start going off, and next thing you know, everybody's dead. So even if one goes off, then we'll all die. So what difference does it make at that point? So I'm not worried about it. Thank you so much, Juan. Man, nice. $49.99 on the super chat. Thank you for recommending The Creature from Jekyll Island. What other books do you recommend? Keep it up, UE. I love The Creature from Jekyll Island. I mean, the only reason why I really recommend that book is because it's honestly one of the only few economic books that I have actually read. So I recommend that book. If you want another book that I have actually read, then it's kind of a simple little story, and most people could probably read the whole thing in like an hour. And it's called "Who Moved My Cheese?" And I know a lot of people will laugh at that, but it's a really great book for trying to understand and deal with change, with the changing environment, changing relationships, changing economy, changing jobs, changing locations, changing everything in your life. If you have a fear of change or you're worried of change, this book is probably one of the best self-help books as far as being able to embrace the change, right? So yeah, Who Moved My Cheese is a great book. Uh, thank you. Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, now I am listening to the audio of Think and Grow Rich right now, and absolutely, I would have recommended that one, but I'm not done with this, but I would recommend Think and Grow Rich as well. I'm listening, like I said, I'm listening to that one right now, and man, it really listening to the idea of you are what you think about, and what you think about is where you will be. It really, it really opened up a clearer picture for me on why a lot of people are in the positions that they are in. It's because of it's just by the way they think. Um, I think about like some of the people that I've worked with in the past, and most of us had like this 9 to 5 job. We would get up in the morning, go to work, finish out the day, grab a 6 pack of beer, go home, drink the beer, hang out, and do the whole thing over again the next day. And do this for 40 years. This is like what a lot of people do, with never any idea of any ambition to do anything else than maybe go on a trip somewhere. Other people that I've worked with, it was constant thinking. Constant. Like, how is it that, like, can I flip this item? Where can I get a business going? That's, how is it that I could, maybe earn some money doing something on the side? Those people that I worked with who had that kind of mindset do fabulously well. Like, I look at what they drive, I look at their lifestyle, I look at what it is that they have going on in their life. They're happy, they're motivated, they have, things going on in their life. But it was from the very beginning, like it's not enough for them. They have a mindset that says 9 to 5 isn't enough. I need more in my life. I need to start businesses. I need to do something. So that's like where Think and Grow Rich, I think, has really like opened up a clearer picture for me, because now I look at people and I think, you know, the reason why you're right there is because of the way you think. See, right now, I think about like somebody who's like, it's coming towards the end of the day, and the only thing they can think about is going and getting that beer and drinking that beer because it's the end of the day and they deserve this beer, and it's, and that's it. That's their life. Well, that's what it's going to be, right? You're going to have this uneventful life that's, pretty much in a state of confusion because that's the way you're thinking all the time. But then you find like my buddy who sells the clam guns, who has a welding business on the side, who flips cars, who does all kinds of stuff all the time. Like he is never not attempting to do something like that. That's where like I feel a lot of people are missing out, and Think and Grow Rich can put you in that mindset of which like I'm going to be in this constant pursuit of a better life, of better things, of better businesses, of better opportunities. Once you have this in your mind, your subconscious starts leading you towards those things. Like you don't even realize it. That you're in the middle of a conversation and you're talking with somebody, and next thing you know, you're working out a business deal with them. You wonder how the hell you even did that. It's because subconsciously your mind is always looking to try and get that next deal, to try and do the next thing. Right on, man. You guys are loading me up with the super chats. Thank you so much. Not your problem. Who moved my cheese? I read that book in middle school for an assignment back in Venezuela. Simple but good. Yeah, it is a very simple book, but you're right. It is very good. The Bible. Yeah, another excellent book that I think everybody should peruse the pages of. Wow, so many comments. Okay, let's see. Let the head earn the bread. Such a dumb statement. People across the world are generally clueless. Has nothing to do with country. Okay. What do you think the Russian default will look like? Ooh, it's going to be bad. I mean, in my opinion, I could be wrong on it, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be, it's gonna start kicking off a contagion effect, and we've talked about this quite a bit, where a lot of other nations or corporations, everybody's leveraged off of everybody else. Everybody holds somebody else's debt, and when those debts default, the liabilities of these corporations and these other nations, they start moving up. Their assets fall, their liabilities increase. And what happens is that they have a difficult time trying to roll their debts into new debts or selling their bonds, basically taking out loans. And if they have a problem with that, then they start going into default as well. And then so goes on the contagion. Russia has these bonds that were due. They were due like last week, and they tried paying them in rubles. And the bond holders are like, no, these things are due in dollars, like US dollars. You owe us dollars, not rubles. Well, they're not getting them. And it doesn't look like they have any intention on getting the dollars to them. And so therefore, that's going to be a default. If that happens, there are insurance policies called credit default swaps that are supposed to kick in and make those investors whole again. To say, hey, if this bond defaults, here's an insurance policy that covers it. The only problem with that is that the people who have issued out those insurance policies, who have sold those credit default swaps, they look at this bond default saying, well, it's not technically Russia defaulting on these things. It's more of these sanctions that are doing it, and they've tried paying in rubles. So this is really out of the scope of our obligation, meaning that they may not pay the insurance policy, which means that they really do default, and the investor misses out on everything. They lose it all. That will put a big fear into the markets. And if people fear that they not only do not get the money from the bond, but then they don't get the money from the insurance policy either, yeah, now we can see where a position in which that people are start dumping out these bonds and the yields on them begin to really go up, and that's when corporations and sovereign nations and entities will not be able to make the payments, and then you have even more defaults taking place. So yeah, Russia can kick off a bond contagion effect, and it could get very ugly. Let's see, insurance like the FDIC. Yeah, right. The FDIC, a lot of people think their money is safe in the bank because it's FDIC insured, the Federal Deposit Insurance Company or whatever. They're able to make good on a few banks, like if a handful of banks were to fail. But if you have like a systemic problem where banks across the nation are failing on a regular basis, they don't even have enough money to cover everybody's accounts. So yeah, I wouldn't trust the FDIC. It's a third-party claim to already a third-party claim. John, thank you very much for the super chat. I look forward to 9% mortgage rates in 2023. Whew. Yeah, that'll put a slowdown on the housing, wouldn't it? My goodness, I gotta open this door so I get warm up in here. All right, Russia didn't default. They paid nobody accepted. Just saying. Yeah, it's because they tried paying in rubles and not in dollars. They don't want to be paid in rubles. Nobody wants rubles except for China and Russia. They're the only two who want to deal with rubles. Hey, thanks. Yeah, I got the haircut over at Cut and Shave. Do I still have the business card in here? Yeah. No, I don't. I went and got it at Cut and Shave here in Astoria. It's probably the best barber in Astoria. Not knocking the other barbers out there that are really good, but Cut and Shave is the best. And I had Lindsay cut it, and she did a fabulous job. Normally Jimmy does, But Jimmy was busy, and so Lindsay cut my hair, and she did a fabulous job. I have to give it to her. She is really good. Did you get the Merc Dime? Was that the one that I got last week? Wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. I got a dime last week, didn't I? Because I did get some change in the envelope. I'm pretty sure that was yours, wasn't it? How do you track the bond market? What do you look for? Um, so as far as like what I watch like the 10-year treasury, the US 10-year, and then I watch the 5-year, 30-year to see what the spread is on those. The 2-year and the 10-year, if those invert, that's a very telling sign of a recession. So those are kind of like the markets that I watch. And then Junk, JNK, that is an ETF for high yielding debts, high yielding bonds. So you can kind of see where like the US treasuries go. That's going to be an indication of where most loans go. So if you follow the 10-year treasury, and then if you follow the Junk, like JNK, that ticker, it'll kind of tell you what's going on in the high yielding corporate debt. So when you see that stuff falling, then you know that the yields on the junk bonds are starting to rise, and again, that's putting corporations and some other, mostly mostly like zombie type corporations into a very difficult position of rolling their old debt into new debt. So those are the things that I kind of watch as far as the simpler stuff. Um, but I look for articles of corporations going into default, what kind of corporations they are, where they're located. Those are some of the things that I look for. I knew it was going to be coming. I said it a while ago that you have to keep an eye on the bond market and keep an eye on the Chinese corporate debt market, because I felt that that was where it was going to take place first. I don't know exactly how I knew that, except that COVID started in China. They locked down first. They were having the issues with economic slowdown first. So I just kind of figured, well, corporate debt crisis was probably going to start there too, and I feel that that's where it happened. It didn't kick off the contagion like I thought it might do, or it could do. At least it hasn't yet. But Russia could do that. Russia could kick off that contagion. All right, man. I've been out here for an hour and 47 minutes. There's 520 of you. I saw there was up over 600 at one point. That is amazing. You guys are awesome. Smart man, bro. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Thoughts on food shortages? Yeah, I talked a little bit on the food shortages earlier, and I honestly, I think that for the next year, you're probably going to have some serious issues with it. Once the food shortages kick in and the prices move up even more than they already have, then that's when the farmers out there, the producers of food, are going to see where there's a lot of money to be made, and they're going to want to produce more food to try and take advantage of some of those higher prices. Once that starts to kick in and more producers start producing, then the prices are going to come down because there's going to be an oversupply. I don't see that happening this year, but I could definitely see it happening on the following year. Um, but then again, that also has a lot to do with whether or not fertilizers start transporting across the country again or across the world again. There's a lot that's going to be in question on that. But as far as shortages this year, I can see where producers would overproduce the following year. They'll show us where the rubber meets the road real quick. Gold versus cash. What's better to hold? I guess that would depend on what you're looking to get out of it. Like, why are you holding gold and why are you holding cash? Are you looking strictly to protect your wealth? I mean, if that's the case, then you're going to want to hold on to gold, because pretty much dollars over time are going to lose value. With that being said, if you're looking for buying opportunities coming into the future, like you're wanting to get a really good deal on a car or just anything that happens to come up, well, you got to have cash. You got to have cash on hand, because cash is king. Cash is what talks. You could have a gold bar in your hand worth $2,000, but the guy on the other side says, I don't care if that gold bar is worth $2,500. I want cash because that's what everybody takes. So it depends on what it is that you're looking for out of that. Are you trying to secure your wealth for some time way down in the future? Well, then, yeah, I would get into gold. But if you're looking for something that you want on hand so that you could take advantage of price drops or just really good deals, then you got to have the cash. Me personally, I think having both, cash, gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, and dollar cost averaging into stocks. That's how I do it. And I mean, to be honest with you, I really don't know that much about stocks or buying into stocks. I My portfolio has the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, the Vanguard Russell 1000 Growth Stocks, and Altria, the Marlboro cigarettes, Anheuser-Busch, ticker symbol MO. Those that's where I invest my money. Like if it's the stock market, that's how I put it. It's done okay. Like it's nothing fabulous. I'm up, I don't know, 10% on the portfolio or something. Cryptocurrencies, I do the exact same amount into Bitcoin. My Bitcoin portfolio is pretty much matching that of the stock portfolio. So whether I bought stocks or bought crypto, I did pretty much exactly the same. There was times when that crypto portfolio was much higher than the stock portfolio was. There was a few times when it was under, but it was very short periods of time and it never was under very much. So I am a firm believer in dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. It did just as well as my stock portfolio did, if not maybe even a little bit better. I haven't sold either one of them, so really there's no gain or anything that's happened with it. It's just tracking what's going on within the two portfolios. But that's how I do it. That's how I invest. I would never put everything into one spot. Like I would never get all into cash, all into gold, all into Bitcoin. I would never do all in on any one thing. However, that being said, Warren Buffett says that if you want to become incredibly rich, you put all your money into one thing. What do you do? Yeah. Okay. That's what I prefer. Let's see. People aren't really believing reports on inflation in some of the larger cities. It's just business as usual. Yeah. I prefer silver over gold. Yeah, I do. I prefer silver over gold as well. I think probably more because, like, when it comes to unloading silver, you're going to be able to unload smaller portions of silver as opposed to gold. So, like, kind of like the idea with land, like, if you come up a few $100s, you only need a few $100, but all you have is a 1 ounce bar of gold. You got to sell the entire ounce of gold. But if you have silver, then you can sell, like, a few ounces, 10 ounces of silver or something like that, and not have to unload your entire bar of gold in order to get just a few $100s. So that's where I find silver to be a little bit better of a purchase. But then I have the tendency to believe that gold has a little bit better of, what I should say, like a desire. Like people look at gold as high, having a higher level to it than silver, so people would appreciate the gold more than they would silver. I personally don't see that, but I could see where, like, institutional buyers and stuff like that would. Alrighty, guys, I'm just gonna give it about another 7 minutes here, and then I'm gonna go home because my boys are gonna be coming home from school soon, so I'd like to be there for when they get home. Hope your day is well, UE. Well, thank you. It is going well, and I really appreciate that. Now, here, when you say cash, do you mean accessible through a bank account, such as a savings? Yes and no. I do hold pretty much all my cash in the bank. Like, that's where it's at. I'm not really worried about banks going bankrupt or there being a bank run. If that was the case, then I would pull my money out. But I don't really think that's going to be happening. So I keep, for convenience purposes, I keep most of the cash in the bank. But yeah, it's cash in hand. like at any given time. If you, I mean, it could be tomorrow that that bank doesn't open its doors. How do I get my money? How do you get it back? What if it's nighttime and you want your money and the ATM isn't working or whatever? I mean, there could be a time where you want the money but you don't have access to it because it's sitting in that institution. That can be a difficult position to be in. Um, Again, like I'm not terribly worried at this point about bank runs and stuff, so I'm not worried about keeping my money in the bank. There's other people who would think that that is completely crazy and that they do not they oops, oh, lost it there. Okay, you guys are back. There are a lot of people out there who have just enough money in the bank to pay bills, and that is it. That's the only amount they'll keep in there. Um, I'm not that way. So, me personally. Uh, but give us some time, and if we start having issues with banks going out of business and stuff, then yeah, I might change my mind on that and pull the money out. But right now, I really don't have that much money anyway because I spend most of it on the damn down payment for the house. So I'm really trying to build up like an emergency savings anyway, and I had all that in the bank to begin with. So once I have my emergency savings built up, then I would probably start holding cash in hand, after that. But all right, do you think a famine is coming in the next 2 decades or so? Um, I don't know. That I can see where there could be some famine, like some serious food shortages in parts of the world. Um, even when even when you heard about like there not being enough food and people were starving, it's not like there's not necessarily enough food because there isn't enough food. It's the price of the food that goes up. See, there's going to be some food available. It's just how much are you going to be able to afford? So when it comes to like famine, it's really going to concern those who are on the lower pay scale who just simply can't afford to buy the food. But if you have plenty of money, I don't think it's going to be an idea of being able to find food. It's going to be able to afford food. That's really what it's going to come down to. All righty. We'll give it another 3 minutes here, guys. All right. Food is the number one investment. Yeah. Again, like, I don't think necessarily storing food, like having, a bedroom completely stocked full of food canned goods that you couldn't even walk into the room. I think it's probably more on how to preserve food, make sure that you can acquire, the food that you need. Something like I have said, on my channel many times, if you bring my wife 100 pounds of anything, she will have that canned up in the jars in the cupboard by the end of the day. That's a pretty cool skill to have. Like, you know, you could shoot a moose, but if all you can get is one steak out of it and the rest of it's going to go to waste, then what's the point? Like, you got to be able to process the entire thing. If you come into all of a sudden somebody just gives you a bunch of apples, well, you can only eat so many apples before they start to rot. What are you going to do? You got to learn to make apple butter, make apple sauce, learn how to can those apples. That's the type of thing that you really need to learn if you're worried about food shortages, is to learn how to can and learn to preserve. That's going to be the key to your survival. All righty, guys, let's give it 2 more minutes here, and then I am going to go home. Put your cash in PVC pipe and bury it in the ground. Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to go about it. It's funny because, like, I've known people to bury like precious metals and stuff like that. And what always worries me about that is that if you don't tell anybody about it, like, your family or somebody, then and you pass away or you die, it's gone. Like, it's like gone. So you either have to let the secret out that of where it is, or hope that you don't take it to the grave with you. So I kind of get worried about like burying stuff and then not telling anybody where it's at. That's like, probably the most secure way of storing something, but then it can be dangerous too, especially if you're wanting to have that for your family in case something happens. You pass away, you get hit by a car or something, and then it's gone. They don't know what to do, and they can't find it. All right. Yeah, thumbs hurt, lots of laughs. Okay. BTC become even more valuable if we move to a central bank digital currency as its opposite. Yeah, I I think Bitcoin is going to become more valuable from here on out, like as we go on. A lot of people keep saying that Bitcoin's going to go to zero. It hasn't yet. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even come close to zero. And Bitcoin has never failed. Like the Bitcoin protocol has continued in operation since it started with like no downtime. That's pretty cool. Bitcoin works. It's working and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Um, whether or not it's going to actually be a feasible currency in the future, I don't know about that. But I could really see it becoming the digital gold. Like nations and major corporations would be the ones who would be transacting in Bitcoin. That's my personal belief. Other cryptocurrencies would fill in the use of like day-to-day commerce, making purchasing coffee or something like that. Okay, how will BTC go from decentralized to centralized? I don't think it will. I don't think Bitcoin will go to centralized. I think it will forever be decentralized. The only way it could go centralized is if some banking entity or whatever started buying up all the Bitcoin. Like if they bought it all up and owned it all, then they can do whatever they want with it. Like, but even still, it still wouldn't work because whatever little remaining Bitcoin that was left out there would get used. It would become super valuable, and 0.000000001 Bitcoin would be a transaction. I mean, you can go as far to the right of the decimal point as you want with Bitcoin. One Bitcoin would be enough to make the Bitcoin protocol work. So I don't think there is any way of making it centralized. Thank you for the super chat. Mason Dixon Piper, thank you. Some fiat for your pilaf. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Who do we have here just pulled up in front of me? Oh, they just must be looking at the river. Okay. Alan Greenspan started Bitcoin. Yeah, that's what I heard too. I believe it is just a cash grab in the mean. Could be. Is stablecoin reliable? Again, you're talking about a third party claim. That's somebody else who is going to say that, yeah, we have these dollars on hand that match all the cryptos that are out there in existence. If it's Tether or whatever, it doesn't. These stable coins, you have to put that trust into that third party. If you have trust for that third party, then yeah, I guess it would be they would work. That's where the whole problem I think lies, is that you have to have that trust. I don't. I just rather stay away from a third party claim to anything. And what little I do give to the third party claim is very small amount on the grand scheme of things, except for maybe my bank account. That would be the one bit, right? But to try and say like I have everything tied up in one particular spot, and is that a safe place to be? As safe as it is that you trust the person you gave it to. Okay, so what? Pull all your money out? I don't know, man. I don't know what to do. I mean, I tell you guys what I do. Um, it's my second live show. Woohoo. Keep it going. I love the conversation, flow, and information you share. Well, thank you so much, Andrew, man. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I'm about ready to end this live stream because I got to go home and meet my kids. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you, everybody, with the super chats. Thank you for all the wonderful comments and the conversations that we have on here. I really appreciate all that stuff that you guys do for me. Um, hey, Adriana, pull it out and put it into silver. Yeah, that's where it should go. All right, see you tomorrow. Do you like roast lamb? Um, I'm beginning to like lamb more. I am not a big fan of lamb. To me, it has a funny taste. Tastes like sweat. I don't know how else to describe it. But the last few times I ate it, I've actually kind of enjoyed it a little bit more. Kind of like acquiring the taste for it and getting used to that idea of what it tastes like. So, yeah, I guess I like roast lamb. I don't know. I have to try it again. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. You guys are awesome. I would love to just sit here and keep reading the comments and talking, but I gotta go. Love you guys. Uneducated economists, you let me know.